Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another amazing segment of the Black Girl Encourage Her. I hope you all are enjoying season 6 because we have been bringing some fire starters to the stage. And today ain't going to be no different, okay? You know I can sit here and hype up my guest for today, but I'm not even going to do that. I'm going to bring her on up to the stage and let her meet you for herself. Come on to the stage. We got Dr. V in the house. Hey. Hey. Listen, now I know a little bit about you. Please introduce yourself to us all.
So my name is Dr. Viola Pierce, and I am the owner and CEO, founder of VP Nursing, Viola Pierce Nursing, and Millionaire Nurse CEO. And we teach nurses how to work from their computers anywhere around the world, making money, owning their own time, building profitable nurse coaching, consulting, and service-based businesses.
Woo! I love it. I love it. I love it. That is a mouthful. Now listen, let's talk about you as a nurse. Tell us a little bit about your start, what areas you've kind of worked into, and what brought you to this juncture you're at now.
I love that question. So I became a nurse because my mama, so I want to be an engineer, right? And my mama was like, so we don't have enough money to send you to North Carolina State University.
Yes.
She said, you're going to have to go to community college. And I was like, well, what am I going to do, mama? She was like, why don't you become a nurse? And I was like, well, okay. Because I had no other aspirations. Like I didn't know what to do, right? Mm-hmm. So I became a nurse. And I really, really liked helping the patients and seeing the turnaround, right? Very early on, went into the emergency department. And then after then, just, as years went by, right? It's crazy, right? Like nursing it just burned you out. Like you can go to the bathroom, you can eat, right? You know what I mean, right? So it was just, the patients were sicker, it was ridiculous. Mm-hmm. So I said, well, okay, I need to figure out a way to help nurses just kind of be better. At the time I was a single parent. I didn't know, I just really didn't know what to do. So I said I wanted to own my own business. And so it was very messy at the beginning because I didn't have any coaching. I had no systems. Like I was trying to solve 3 different problems. And, you have to have that one thing, right? And so it was kind of crazy at the beginning, but luckily we're here now because, failure is not failure until you stop, right? Mm-hmm. And so, and I say this all the time that, generational poverty is the price that we pay for lack of execution, right? And I was definitely in tune to that. And I knew that I had to execute in order to grow, in order to get better. And abundance is a decision. Mm-hmm. Like people think that abundance is not it's a decision. Once you make the decision that you're going to be abundant, then you have to execute to get to where you need to be. So that was it.
Now, did you have anyone, so to just the thought of being an entrepreneur, had you seen other entrepreneurs? Were there anyone else in your family that was an entrepreneur? Like what gave young Viola that idea to just say, you know what, I can do this myself?
So I remember, and this is for all the nurses out there. So I want you to listen to this, okay? Because this is the segue. When you are good at your job, I was good at my job. I was good with the numbers. Like every time, like I was an emergency department nurse, so, the door to drug, the door to admission, like my numbers were stellar. I went into management. My numbers were still stellar, right? And but once I got into management, as long as I was in the emergency department, like there was no mental games that were being played, right? Mm-hmm. But once you got into that C-suite, or you got not necessarily C-suite because I never made it there, I wanted to make it there, right? Mm-hmm. I wanted to be a CNO, right? So that's the reason why I went back and got all these degrees, foolishness. So anyway, it don't make no sense. So anyway, it is, if you want to go get a degree, then by all means go get a degree. However, that was not something that that's not something I recommend. So I went back to school, got all the degrees because I wanted to be in CNO. But when I started to try to get into the C-suite, what
Mhm.
happened was there was gatekeepers,
Mhm.
right? A lot of gatekeepers. And then like there were several jobs that I applied for. And sometimes whenever you apply for these jobs, you know, you have to understand that sometimes they are not meant for you. So like I wanted to be the department, the ED's manager, and I had all the qualifications. Like I knew all the qualifications of the other people that were there, right? So two of the people, so I had a master's degree and I was going back for my doctoral degree. The other person, she had an associate degree. The other person had an associate degree too. I had worked there longer than either one of them. I
Mm.
had certification in emergency nursing. She had a certification in emergency nursing and the other one didn't. She got the job. Now,
Mhm.
hindsight is 2020. That was right before COVID. So
Mhm.
that was God protecting me, right? From that.
Yeah.
Well, then I went into management. I was the readmissions manager. And when I became the readmissions manager, I decreased the readmission scores from 12% to 9%. And
Mm.
I had great percentages. And there was another young lady who was right beside me. And I knew that they had handpicked her for the director position, but they really could not give her the director position. Number one, I had worked there longer and
Mhm.
not, it seemed like, you know, it was a racial thing, right? And so because I had worked there longer, my numbers were better than her numbers,
Mhm.
right? And so I decided that this is no longer for me. Okay.
Mhm.
And I'd already started repositioning myself at that time too, as you know, once I didn't get that emergency because I was not like you're not gonna stop me, right? That's
Mhm.
not gonna be a thing that's gonna happen ever. And so I knew that I had to be my own boss in order to determine my own destiny. And
Yes.
so that's the reason why I did that. And it's so funny. I tell people this story all the time. So I remember when I was, you know, because as soon as I decided that I was leaving, right?
Mhm.
I said, okay, I need to work on my business. And so I wrote my resignation letter, right? And I wrote my resignation letter and I dated it for 3 months later, right? And I
Okay.
went to work. And once I started going to work, I work all day long on my business, okay? First.
Mhm.
And so my boss, she was right across the way. She would come to my office and my door would be locked because I needed time in order to put my computer up in order to have hers, right? She would
Yeah.
come to my office and she would ring on the door. And I would I would put my computer up and then she would come back. She was like, this door needs to be unlocked. And I was like, okay. Every time she come back, that door be locked.
Like, lady, I'm trying to protect you. You don't want to see what I'm creating.
So yes, it was so good. But yeah, that was it. I was just like there the money that I had, like when I exited, I literally doubled my income
Mm.
because I'm such an executor. Like I wrote the book, The Audacity to Execute. And the reason why I wrote the book was because, you know, when you execute and you execute at a high level, you know, just like we were discussing before today, because today, Dr. Sheniqua inboxed me. She was like, when do you want to do the podcast? And I was like, well, no time like today.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Make it happen today.
And Dr. Sheniqua was like, okay, no problem.
She was on my schedule today. The audacity of her. But you did. You had that audacity to execute, to say, you know what? This is something that I need to get done. Pull trigger. Let's go.
Right. That's right. That's right. That's what
Nice.
I think that that's what a lot of people miss
Mhm.
is that piece right there.
Mhm.
And the more you can do in the day. And what I thought about was, I think one of the primary motivators was I was rounding the circle at the hospital and they said that Oprah was a billionaire. And I
Mhm.
said, say what? She a
Mhm.
billionaire with a B. And so
Mhm.
what I did was I went back and I looked at her history because what happens is we go back and we look in their history to try to determine whether they had something that we didn't have,
Mhm.
right? And when
Mhm.
I looked in her history, her mom and her daddy met at an oak tree. She
Mm,
didn't even, she was poor when she was like, she did, like, there were times when she didn't even know whether she was going to have Christmas. I
mhm,
had that. Now I was poor, right? Don't get me wrong, right? But I never questioned whether I was going to get a gift during Christmas. Like, I wasn't that poor. You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
And so I was like, if she can do it, then by all means, I
mhm.
can do it, right? And so that was one of the pivotal. There's been several, like pivotal points where things have changed, but yeah, that's exactly what it was.
So like there were so many good nuggets in there. My mind is like chung 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 all over the place. For one, when you were speaking, I heard I was reminded of where people say success leaves clues. And just recently on my Facebook page, I had put up like your struggles. It's the struggles, the things that you go through that leaves clues as well. It's
Mhm.
when someone is talking negatively about you, it's the positive things that people are saying about you. Like to listen into all of that can really help to shape where it is that you are destined to be. Like, so you were saying, like, your numbers were always good. Like, no matter where you are, like, that's like your jam. That's where you thrive in. Like, you're strategic about getting those numbers and having the data, right? Having the receipts, as they call it nowadays, having the receipts as to the work that you can do. And then you went on to talk about Oprah and yeah, like tracing back, because that's kind of like a nursing thing. Like we got to look back. That's why we take the history and physical, because we got to trace back. We got to see what you've eaten in not just the last 24 hours, but what have you been eating, all last month? Like, because it tells us these clues as to where we're going, where we're headed, whether it's a good direction or a bad direction. So I loved how you just shared that, but also my mind is still stuck on this book, right? The audacity to execute. And one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, because I know you're a woman of faith, many believers, many people in general, they lack that audacity to execute, but they lean in on, well, I'm waiting on God.
God waiting on you.
Yeah. So talk to the people, right? They're like, no, everything in God's timing. I'm waiting on God. I'm praying about it. I'm fasting. I'm petitioning, but they're not executing.
Mhm. Faith without works is dead. That's what the book says. And it's
That's
impossible
what
to
it says.
please God without faith, right? And
Mhm,
so you have to execute. Like he is waiting on you to do the thing. He
mhm,
will perfect it as you move forward, right? And that that whole mentality is crazy to me, right? And I'm just like nothing gets done unless you actually do it, right?
mhm,
Like God is not going to come and put something at your doorstep. It's like if a child, like when I think about you really, if you have never ran a six-figure business,
mhm,
it's going to be really hard for you to run $1 million business
mhm,
because of the fact that you didn't walk through the steps to do it, right? And so you have to walk through those steps in order to ensure I'm not going to make those mistakes, those same mistakes that I made last time, right? And those mistakes that you make, those are just launching points, and then you learn from those. You either succeed or you learn, right? And when you have that mentality, succeed or learn, we learn from that.
mhm,
We don't
mhm.
do that no more, right? Then
Yeah.
it really changes the game for you, and it really helps you to move forward because it's just it's amazing to me how people, and it's really funny because the book, and I was just because I was my birthday was a few days ago,
Mhm.
and I my love language is words of affirmation.
Okay.
Okay. And so what I put on Facebook, I was like, tell me something about me that has inspired you. Right.
Mhm,
And so one of the ladies, she put the book up there and she was like, this book, really helped me, so on and so forth. Right. And it was so funny because the lady who helped me publish it, she came in because listen, I did not want to write that book. My
okay.
husband said, write the book. I was like, I'm not writing that book. He said, write the book. And then she came into my inbox because God got to tell me twice, right? And so,
Yes.
so
Yes.
okay, fine, I'll write the book. So I wrote the book. And when I wrote the book, I mean, she had to stay on top of me to write that book because I just didn't want to do it. And finally I sat down every morning and I just eventually got to where I wrote it. But yeah, she said that book really, really helped her and it really changed her life. So
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Now, you do a lot of coaching. I know you coach nurses a lot. But I just want you to talk to the people. Now, there might be some nurses, there might be some people in healthcare, there might be other professions, people watching. Tell us, in your opinion, the mindset shift that has to occur for someone to go from being a worker, getting up, tend to their day-to-day 9 to 5, whatever their shift is, to being an entrepreneur. And then I want you to take it a next step. So I'm giving you these multiple part questions. So where does someone go from being a worker to a CEO and entrepreneur of their own business to being a millionaire CEO? What's the mindset
okay.
trajectory?
So really you just have to believe that it's gonna happen,
Mhm.
right? At the end of the day, that's all it is. And it's transforming and really, so one of the things that I do in order the practicality, because I have to have practical things that I do, right? So when I wake up in the morning, and I don't care where I'm at, the same thing happens no matter what.
Okay.
I have this whole like almost like my bio, okay, of where I will be in 10 years,
Mhm.
okay? And it's, how our children are, how many, because we own real estate as well, right? So, how many doors that we have, how much money we have in the stock market. Like it literally is very specific, right? Because God, he likes specifics, right? And
Mm.
so it's very specific in my future self, right? And so that's my bio. So I listen to that. I recorded it on my phone, and so I listen to that as soon as I get up in the morning. The second thing that I listen to is money affirmations, right? Money comes to me easily and abundantly and so on and so forth. So that's my second thing that I do. The third thing that I do is I always listen to and I probably should read this. However, I'm a listener, right?
Mhm.
So like whenever I do books, like I'm gonna listen to the book, right? And
Mhm.
so I listen to whatever scripture I'm gonna listen to that morning, right? And I do a lot of proverbs. And the reason why I do proverbs is because it's
Mhm.
very practical, right?
Mhm.
And then I pray. And I pray for 18 minutes. And the reason why I pray for 18 minutes is because today, poochie, I didn't realize that was gonna come up. Today is my mother's. Um, she would have been 95 today. And so today would have been her birthday. So October 18th is her birthday. So I pray for 18 minutes every single solitary morning. And so you have to infuse your mind with those things. And when thoughts come and they say, well, you're not going to succeed, you have to stop that thought. You have to say, like, that I believe, not that I believe, I believe it, but it says it in the Bible, right? I
Mhm.
believe that every leadership book that we have ever read comes from things that come from the Bible, like the parables in the Bible, right? And
Mhm.
so there's power of life and death in the tongue. And so if anything comes to my mind and it says, you're not going to succeed, this is not going to happen, blah, 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 then I say outside my mouth, I say, this is going to happen, right? So then that transforms that thought because
Mm.
everything that happens in your life is from the thought,
Yeah.
right? And as long as you think that you're going to succeed, then you are,
Mm.
right? And I knew that I was. Like you said, success leaves clues. Like I had always succeeded at everything that I had done.
Yeah.
And another thing too is that we have to be very intentional about healing from childhood trauma, right?
Yes.
And for me, luckily, my mother so my siblings were 6 stair steps, right? And then 17 years later came me. She had 5 miscarriages, she had 1 stillborn,
Wow.
okay? And
Wow.
so then she had me. And when she had me, she called me her miracle baby. And she
Yes.
called me that her entire life. And so that has always been the thing that I've always thought, you are a miracle. And so if you're
Mhm.
going to be a miracle, you better make this happen, you
Yeah.
know? And then really understanding that you have to not just because when you get in the business scaling to $1 million, the thing that happens is you have to be very intentional about not just being working in the business, but nurses are actually the best people to do it. Okay.
Mhm.
And this is the reason why. It's because nurses know how to delegate, right?
Mhm.
They know the things that they need to do, and then
Mhm.
they know the things that they don't need to do, right?
Yes.
And so, and they can, and one of the things that happened to me was that I was not a good leader when I first became a nurse. I was a good tasker,
Yes.
okay? And so leadership and tasking is two different things,
Yes.
right? It's two different skill sets. And so a lot of times people who are good nurses, then they become leaders. They don't necessarily need to become leaders until they understand the skill set of leadership. It's a
Mhm.
whole skill set,
Yes.
right? And so I had to understand that because I got demoted 2 times from a job because I was not leading well. And it
Mm.
was because I didn't care. John Maxwell said, um, he said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That
Mhm.
literally changed my life. And,
Mhm.
those were the points, right? These are some points. And so it changed my life. And so I had to start caring about them and understanding that it wasn't just about the numbers, it was about the people too. So,
Yes, I love it. So it is a big mindset shift. And I've learned that over my many years as an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur since 2013.
oh, you've been
But I held on to the mindset of a worker. So
mm,
there was a great portion of my time in that, since 2013, where I was still a worker. So that mentality of being a worker still stuck. So I worked in my business. I
mm,
worked it when I could. And it wasn't until about 2.5 years ago, I decided to walk away from my six-figure job. And even then, after I walked away from it, I'm like, why is the business not doing what the business is supposed to do? And it was because I still had that worker mindset.
mentality.
Yeah. So it wasn't until recently I started to now think like a CEO. And once that shifted, now you see the wheels turning. Now you see the opportunities coming. Now you see it moving more steadily. But it really was the mindset that was the key that kind of turned the switch on. It wasn't years of experience. It wasn't, anything razzle dazzle. And like I said, the titles are good, but it wasn't even the title. So that was one of the points that you had mentioned before. You was like, oh, don't even waste your time. We got to go back and catch that one, right? So because we think that we need all of these accolades. Like here you were sitting with this master's degree at the time in competition, so to speak, with these individuals who had associates degree. In our mind, we were like, how does that even compute? Why would I ever? Was it a money thing that they knew that if they got you, they were going to have to pay, a little bit more? But it just doesn't compute to us. And we're always taught go to school, get a good job, go to school, get a good job. So we learn this rat race of running and getting these degrees.
For what?
That's the question. That's the question that we're still like pondering on.
It was once I got I saw the writing on the wall prior to because the business started, I want to say 2018 is when we started the business.
Mhm,
So the writing was kind of on the wall at that time, but 2019 was when I got my doctoral degree.
mhm,
And when I got that, and they still, were not looking at me because I thought this was my thought. I
mhm,
thought I'm gonna get this doctoral degree, and then
mhm.
they're gonna look at me and they're gonna be like, you need
Just
to be elevated, right, to this position,
mm,
right? But and this is another inflection point. And so I went into a meeting. I was in school to get my master's degree, and I was following around the assistant CNO.
Mhm.
And this lady from, and this was back when DEI was, a big thing, right? And so she was from the diversity committee at the bigger hospital that we were associated with. And she came in and she said that your C-suite should look like your community. I was
Mm.
the only, us two were the only Black people in that room,
Mhm.
right? And because of that, I said, and it was like I started, it hurt my feelings. Like I was like, I looked at this organization like the best thing since Wonder Bread, right?
Mhm.
And when I looked at that and I understood, because we are 60% in this community, we're 60% African American, right? And because we're 60% African American, and there's nobody in that C-suite, so nobody understands the problems that we deal with as a race,
Mhm.
and the health equities that we in particular deal with. And so I knew that was one of the points where I was like, this is not the place for me forever. And I
Mhm.
thought, I mean, I would, if you'd have told me 10 years ago, even that I would not be at the bedside, I'd be like, you're crazy. You
Wow.
crazy. I love doing
Mhm.
what I did. But but it was the time that, because I used to love, what did you work at when you were in healthcare?
I did med surg for many, many years, and then when I came out of the bedside, I did home care. From home care, then I kind of followed. I went to long term care. I went into education. So I took that pathway.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Well, I was in the emergency department, and I loved emergencies, right? When I started running away from them emergencies, I was like, it's time to go.
Mhm. Okay.
It's time to go. And so I was done. And I couldn't, what I wanted to do was I wanted to become a manager, because I knew that I could not make, knew I could make a difference in a patient's life at, one patient's life, right? But
Mhm.
what I wanted to do is I wanted to affect the system, right? And I knew that I needed to be in a manager role in order to be able to affect the system.
System.
And so when that was just not something that I could do, and once I got on the other side, and this was another pivotal point too, because once I got into the readmissions role, we were working very reactively. Like I built our community paramedic program. We were working very reactively in order to take care of the patients. But then I went into my COO's office, and I said, we're going to have to start working proactively to keep these patients out of this hospital, right? Because we really work in sick care. We don't really work in healthcare, to be honest,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
so when he said, we don't want to keep the patients out of the hospital, I said, oh,
This my stop.
oh, it
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
say less.
Mhm.
So it was where it was those points that I just knew. It was just like God was just leading me in a different direction, and I wanted to help the nurses. And once I came out and I had because I was coaching them, one nurse, like the first, not the first nurse, but like one of the first nurses that I started coaching once I done business, because at first I was like a life coach. I was
Mhm.
not doing all the things, right? I was a financial coach. I was a health and wellness coach. And then I was like, I don't have the passion to do this. And I was doing it one-on-one. And so then I said, well, I really like understanding the business of nursing
Mhm.
entrepreneurship, right? And so then that's when I started to doing the one thing, right? I read the book, The One Thing, and then
Yes.
I started doing the one thing. And so then the first nurse that I helped, she, within 6 months of being in the program, she had opened up a brick and mortar, and she had a phlebotomy school. She had a NA school. She had NCLEX, and she had, all the alphabets, ACLS,
Mm.
PALS, all
Yeah.
those, right? She had all of that in one brick and mortar, and was doing incredibly well. And then probably about 3 months later, I helped another nurse. She closed a six-figure contract. And
Nice.
then she closed several six-figure contracts since then. She's actually still in the program. And then last year we helped our first millionaire nurse. And so I was like, I'm loving this. I'm
Yeah.
loving this.
At your own terms, your own way. and the degrees were supplemental.
Yeah.
They were supplemental, but to each its own, right? But we do live in a society where the titles we think will open the doors, the reality is that it may not open the door. So you don't want to spin your wheels trying to go after, kind of like a mouse, in the wheel, like trying to get to this point, and you don't.
That's
Right,
right.
you don't. So we want to make certain that um, you're realistic, but then you're also challenging yourself to go further.
Mm-hmm.
To go
Mm-hmm.
further, like what more can I do? Like even if I don't have this, how can I still execute? How can I still get myself in position to still achieve? But we listen to the world says you need this, you need this, you need this, you need this. Do I though? Do I though?
Listen,
Right? We got to
because
challenge.
all it does is get you in debt. I'm just trying to tell you.
Listen, that it does. Now, that's a fact. We can't dispute that. That is a fact, right? So think about where it is that you truly want to go, and do you really need all of the X, Y, and Z and the bells and the whistles in order to do it? So yeah, that was good. Now you've got a lot going on. One, you've got the podcast. So tell us a little bit more about the podcast that you do.
So we have the Millionaire Nurse CEO podcast, and so it's on YouTube. We stream live Wednesday mornings
Mhm.
from Facebook, LinkedIn, and from YouTube.
Mhm.
And so the podcast pretty much is either me just coming on and giving some tips and on how to become a nurse entrepreneur and the things to do in order to be better at it, or of course we have guests, we have nursing guests that come to it, and not just nursing guests, like we have other guests too, right? So like if you align with entrepreneurship, then we have other guests that come to it. So it's amazing. We have a great time over there. So go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's amazing.
Yes, yes. I'm certain the gems are dropping heavily. So you want to go and pick up those treasures. I've got your Instagram page going, Millionaire Nurse CEO. You're also on Facebook under your name, Viola Pierce, and also the the Millionaire Nurse CEO. Now, before I let you go, you do have a conference coming up.
I do.
Tell us now so we can get in position and we won't have no excuses. We'll be ready to execute when the time comes.
So we do have the Millionaire Nurse CEO conference coming up. It's going to be February 20th through the 21st. It's going to be in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. And it's going to, first of all, you get CEUs if you attend the conference. And it will primarily, like some of the topics that we will be covering is AI, how to, AI for nurses, basically. Because, AI is definitely something that we have that's coming. Corporate contracts, how to land corporate contracts. And I'm sure, and there's a few other things that we're going to be talking about, but those are the main topics that we're going to be talking about right now. And just really, really changing the mindset of how to become a nurse entrepreneur, right? Like you said, because it is a whole mindset shift. And I think that once people understand that once they can get their head in the game, the mindset is 80% of it, the skill set is 20%. Like you don't really need to know a lot to do. Like I tell people all the time, I just hire people who know how to do stuff,
Come
right?
on. Yeah.
Because there's no reason. Like we were having an issue with a Facebook issue. We had a Facebook issue the other day, and the person who runs, she's my COO. She runs the Facebook, and so she was like, "Well, I'm going to send this over to you," and I was like, "You don't send it over to me." I was like, we got a whole Facebook ads coach. Like, what you doing with? Send it over to him.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, you just have to, be very intentional about that and really understanding how that mindset shift. I'd like to ask you, what mindset shift did you have that you?
You know what? It was a spiritual thing in actuality. Like
Okay.
once, like just reading, studying the word of God for its trueness, hearing him tell me the revelation, that's what began to open the doors, where I had to realize that there was a whole healing that needed to take place, not just the physical, but the mind, the way I thought about every area of my life, not just my finances, relationships, like every part of me. There was a healing that had to take place, and from that healing, that divine healing, came the shift that said, wait a
Mm,
second, you've been doing what you know, and what you know is to be a worker. Yeah, you got the LLC. Yeah, you got the paperwork. Yeah, you got the bank account. So you were doing tasks. Like
mm,
you were an employee. Like someone says, okay, we need you to do this, go do that, and I did it. Go get a website. I got the website. Like I literally did the task.
mm.
Create the Facebook ads. I did it. Do the webinar. I did it. Check, check, check. But it wasn't until you, like you said, you connect to why. You connect to the people. You connect to the community.
Mhm.
Then it just was like, and it's like, why didn't somebody tell me to think that before? Because nobody can tell you to think that way. It's like something that you've got to experience for yourself.
And I think too, I'm glad that you brought up that faith component, because I think too, people think that just because you're in the faith community that you don't need to get paid for your services. That is the most insane thing that I've ever heard.
Yes.
Like there's more scriptures on money just about than there's anything in the Bible. So like, why
Mhm.
wouldn't you think you need to get paid for your services? And they're
Yeah.
like, well, I don't know whether they have it. Well, I mean, you offer it to them.
Mhm.
Sales is a service. You
Yeah.
offer it to them so that you can determine whether they even if they have it, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And really, really handling the objections that you may have, because you're going to have some objections, right? But at
Absolutely.
the end of the day, you have to do that, and not cowering to that. When
Mhm.
it was once I knew that I could help someone get a result,
Mhm.
I knew the pathway to that, and it
Yes.
was game over,
Yeah.
right? So I don't have a problem in speaking out, my price to you, right?
That's right. Because your price will then allow you to help more people.
Exactly. Exactly.
But if serving from an empty cup, how can that math don't math?
You
Not
better
not
you
not,
better say it again, because
not gonna see to it.
like, I don't understand that concept at all.
Yeah. Even in the Bible where Jesus has the two fish and five loaves of bread, the disciples who were there out there serving it, giving it to the people, they still ended up with stuff. They had baskets full of what was remaining. So nowhere in the Bible that I read, not from the revelation that I get, that it means that I'm supposed to give until I'm empty and then I'm going to go die in a corner because I don't have enough. No.
No.
Oh, there's going to be more than enough left over for me to be able to go and serve again.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. I
That's
love
a
that.
mindset shift, right?
Right.
If you're not ready for that, you're not ready for it. Like we're not trying to force feed it to you, but the gist of it, it's the mindset. If you want to be a millionaire, you got to change your mind about it,
That's right. That's right. And you gotta
right?
stop. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the thought process that comes behind that. And
Hmm.
of course, serving in integrity, right? Because we serve in integrity.
Yes.
But it's just it's amazing to me when it comes to church people.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, you guys make certain you are connecting with Dr. Viola. She's got the podcast. She's on Instagram. She's on Facebook. Don't forget to go check out her website where you can get them tickets because we want to be in the room. We want to be in position. We can't use that excuse that we don't know. We don't know where to start. We didn't know about it. You're hearing about it here. So go ahead, put it in, check it out, start saving, start getting your stuff in order so that you can be in the room, so that you get the mindset shift that you need to be into the position for where it is that you want to go in life. Dr. Viola, it was a pleasure having this conversation with you. I
Pleasure
want
with
to make
you
certain
too.
that you are empty before you leave here. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the viewers since you got their attention?
I would just like to thank you. I just want to thank you for always showing up. I want to thank you for just being who you are, right? Because, of course, business is not easy, but, being very intentional about it. But, working for someone else is not easy either. So I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you very much. And now you coach Sheniqua Polk, right?
I do.
Yeah, look, y'all. Sheniqua, she was on here. She gave us some gems about that generational curses, baby. She tore that up for the Black Girl Heal Her. So if y'all missed that episode, make sure you check it out. That's Dr. V's people. I'm telling you, we've got good people coming up here. It was a pleasure. Hang out, Dr. Viola. Let me give the people their marching orders. Y'all better get your tickets. Stop playing. Stop playing. I don't want to hear nobody complaining about they don't have and they didn't know and I didn't know. Get in these rooms. Get in these rooms so that you can get these nuggets. When you show up, tell Dr. Viola you met her. She was on the Black Girl. Encourage her. And now you're a part of the family. So I want to make certain that you all got every nugget that she dropped. Don't leave anything on the table. Listen, it is definitely time for you to have the audacity to execute. So I want you to hit that subscribe button. If you're not already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And I want you to meet us back here next week for another amazing segment of the Black Girl Encourage Her. Take care, everyone. Be blessed.